Hello, my friends and foes. Good morning, good evening, good night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa. Some people call me G, and this corner of the internet is G's Journals. Today, I'm super excited because we are reviewing Heavenly Bodies by Imani Erriu. I'm going to be breaking the book down into 5 categories: characters, plot, world building, readability, and spice. And then there are 2 bonus categories at the end that we'll get to if we have time and my camera doesn't run out of battery. But before we get into it, I want to give a disclaimer. I have read this book 1.25 times. Why do I say a quarter? Because I'm currently rereading it because I'm so unsure of my view on it. I don't know if I like it or if I don't, and I'll explain that in the rest of the video. But when I finish reading the book, if I realize, hey, my view on this was too extreme in this review, I will go back and future me will share the new opinion. And if there's no future me, then everything I said was right, and it doesn't even matter that I read it a second time. Future me here. I will be back. There's so many things about this review that make me sick. And this book makes me sick. All right, let's get into this character breakdown. There will be spoilers from this point on, so if you don't want to know about people's character traits or key things about who they are, sorry y'all, thanks for stopping in and making it this far, but I'm about to reveal some stuff, so love ya. So this book has 2 main characters who are in love? I don't know. So this book has like 5. This book has, wow, I don't even know how many main characters. All right, so we've got 5 prominent characters, 2 main characters, and then 3 supporting characters. The main character, whose perspective that we see the majority of the book from, is Alara. She's the princess of Asteria, and she is on the run from Ariette, who is a star who has come into her kingdom, stolen it from her, and killed her parents. So in running from that star, Ariette, who it has been prophesied that they're fated to fall in love and kill each other, she goes to her enemy's kingdom, which is the other main character, Lorenzo. The 3 supporting characters are Marissa, who is Ilara's handmaiden when she is now living in this enemy kingdom, Isra, who is a psychic, and she is the best friend of Lorenzo, and Leo, who is also the best friend of Lorenzo, and Leo is a warrior. They fight alongside each other. Yay, hoorah, brothers in battle. Overall, I think the characters were written pretty well. The supporting characters kind of stay on brand the whole time, but the main characters flip-flop, and I don't know about anyone else. Like, if you've already read this book, Alara was one of the most annoying people in the book. For a long time, I did not like her. Like, she would just do things that were obnoxious, but she stayed on brand, and I give Imani Erriu some credit for that because she kept Ilara on brand for being annoying, and it worked. Now, for Lorenzo, also called Enzo, I felt like sometimes his character flip-flopped. There were moments where he'd be this like brooding guy who was like, oh, my heart is like shattered, so I have to have this harsh exterior, but like I'm also nice sometimes, but I'm like overconfident, but I'm like insecure, and it would flip-flop in a way that didn't seem reliable at certain points. I haven't mentioned it yet, but Ilara and Enzo, the 2 main characters, possess this power called the 3, where they each have different magical skills specific to the regions in which they live. Ilara can dream walk, she can cast shadows, and she can create illusions. Enzo can wield light, he can see into someone's soul, and shoot, what's the 3rd thing? What is the 3rd thing? So Enzo's 3rd power, reading minds. And not even like reading minds in the way you think, it's just seeing someone's true self. Because what the fuck does that mean? He like never uses it, and if he uses it, he just never talks about it. And if it comes up in the book, it's like in an off sentence that nobody cares about or remembers. They each possess the 3, and that is the reason why once Alara seeks refuge in this kingdom, the king of Helios orders his son to train Alara so that she can be utilized as a weapon against Ariet the Star. Now, what do you think is going to happen? The enemy is training the other enemy. They're working together. It's, sweaty, fighty, magical powers. Love. Okay, there are some things about the supporting characters that you find out later in the book that did make me question, are things done intentionally or do they accidentally fall together? Like, are things done with the thought in mind to loop back to this later, or do you have to loop back to it later because you didn't figure it out in the beginning? I'm not sure, and I still don't know. So as far as the characters in general, like the overall rating that I'm going to give this category is a 3.8. Absolutely not. I will not be giving these character ratings a 3.8. Upon my second read, I realized these characters are not written that well. Enzo was so hot and cold for me. Like, I realized just how toxic of a man that he was. And I was shook because in the first read, I was really like, wow, Enzo, oh my God, so cute. No, not this time. No, sir. I see you for who you really are. 1, he's possessive, very possessive, and hypocritical. Not a fan. 2, he habitually prioritizes his need to claim Ilara as his territory higher than he prioritizes Ilara's actual feelings. Yuck, disgusting, ew, icky. And 3, one minute he's super sweet, and then the next minute he's fusing his powers with Ilara, which he knew was going to be an erotic experience and didn't tell her. And then the next minute, after they fuse their powers, they actually end up making this mass destructive weapon that has not been found in years that they need to kill their enemy. And even though they both enjoyed that smexy experience, they didn't do it again to make more of this weapon. Enzo's dumb, Ilara's dumb, everyone's dumb, and the characters now receive a 2.9 rating from me. Also about the characters, I felt like Ilara, Isra, Leo, and Marissa's friendships, their like immediate found family, was really, really annoying the second time around. I didn't realize just how quickly they went from being strangers to found family, and how quickly they went from I don't know you to I would die for you. And I feel like their I would die for you mentality was not earned. Like, all Ilara did was go there and be like, hi guys, can I be your friend? And they were like, yes, I'll die for you. Yeah. And maybe this says a lot more about me than about the book, but like, you gotta earn my friendship. I'm not just gonna die for you off a rip. Like, if you want me to die for you, you gotta really be there for me. And so it just felt rushed in that sense. All right, next category is readability. Now, readability, this is my lowest rating for any category in this book. I struggled, and I'm still struggling to figure out whether I like the sentence structure or the word choices. In some instances, it's perfect. Like, every word she's adding into a sentence paints a better picture in my mind of what's going on. But in other ways, the sentence structure has me like, where are we? What's going on? You know, as a writer, you want to write certain things, but you have to write others. You know, to get your character from point A to point B, you have to write that bridge in between. And it felt like in those bridge chapters, Imani Erriu was like, I'm going to just, give it good enough for government work and then call it a day. Like, it showed to me which chapters she did not want to write and which chapters she did want to write. And I felt like for the ones that had smut or the ones that had like big adventures, she crushed it. The description's great. I could see them. I knew what was going on. But in the ones that were exposition, oh my God, I was dragging my feet. I was struggling to read it. And I was also pulling my hair out because there were times where I didn't know who was speaking. And I'd be flipping the pages, seeing the movie in my head, and then I'd get to a sentence where Imani Erriu, uses the word she 6 times while 2 women are talking. And I can't figure out, is this character saying it or is this character saying it? And that would pull me right back out of the story. And so I struggled with the readability a lot. I think later the plot came in and like kind of smoothed that over to where I didn't care about the readability. But in this instance, the plot carried it and the writing did not. So overall, if I were to rate the readability in reference to sentence structure and word choice, I'm giving it a 2.5. It's like right in the middle. 2.5 solid. I was right about this one. Readability remains at 2.5. Half and half. Okay, I'll be back. Moving on to the plot category, I'm going to break it down into 2 subsections. Progression and tropes. Some of the tropes that were discussed in this book was enemies to lovers, forced proximity, drunken confessions, forbidden love, all the good sappy stuff that you want from a smutty adventure fantasy read. I didn't mind the tropes. I love a good cliche. Not to say that this book is cliche, but in some instances it did feel like the plot was driven by the tropes versus the plot driving the plot. Before we get into plot progression, I do want to say we will be discussing some sensitive topics. So if you have any trouble hearing conversations about attempted sexual assault or things of that matter, just skip ahead or click off. I totally understand. As far as plot progression, for me, it started out a little bit fast. Like, we came in hot. She's in the back of a carriage, literally on the road to her enemy's kingdom to ask for help. And you feel that stress of what's going on. But I'm pretty sure in the first or second chapter, there's an attempt made to sexually assault Alara. And she uses her powers to get away and then proceeds on like nothing really happened. But that's within the first or second chapter. No trigger warnings, no nothing. And so we start out this book really freaking hot, okay? And not in a nice way. I'm talking like I'm getting burned. I didn't know this is what I signed up for, and we're just going. And then from that, it literally just keeps at that pace until you adjust to it. It doesn't slow. It just keeps going and going and going. Oh my God. And it progressed so fast. At certain points, she's learning her magic. She's being taught by people who actually don't have the same powers as her, except for one person. And she struggles for I think it's a month or 2. I have to look back at that. But then she meets a new person. And on the second day, well, technically the first day of training, she learns this new skill and just has it and can just do it. I don't know about you, but that made me mad. That plot progression was too fast. It didn't feel realistic, and I felt like it was pushed. I know we had to get to the point where she could utilize her powers better, but one day of training and she's got a new skill, to me, it was too much. If you cannot suspend disbelief at every turn, then this book may not be the one for you. Because there were a lot of things that you kind of just have to overlook. She gets her powers. Well, she masters her powers too fast. I mean, she's just okay with being, I don't even know if I should bring that up. But as far as plot and in reference to characters, there is a point where Alara tells Enzo that people tried to sexually assault her on her way into the kingdom. And, he goes freaking feral and is like, this will never happen to you again. The next day she wakes up, he's found the people. He's burning them at the stake in the center of freaking town or the castle or wherever. She's pissed off, rightfully so, because that's not what she wanted. He did it anyway. And she goes and runs off. He finds her. They start talking. Literally, I wish that I was joking. They talk for 3 minutes. He says he's sorry. She forgives him immediately. He does a little light show with his magic, and they move on. That plot progression was too fast. That forgiveness was too fast. I understand that there is a time crunch because she has to learn her powers so that she can fight off this star, but come freaking on. You're going to forgive him for not respecting your wishes, going after your attackers, and not even like doing it with you in mind. Just doing it in a way that's possessive. Get out. I did not like that at all. And I just want to say that Enzo's character traits are not cute in real life. I don't think anybody wants their partner. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I don't want a partner that's going to be so possessive and so territorial of me that they don't listen to my wishes and my wants. That's for a book boyfriend, not a real life boyfriend or girlfriend or galfriend or person friend. Set your standards. Make them different in books in real life. But also it's your life to live, so if you want to be dumb, that's your prerogative. There were also decisions made to drive the plot, but they made no sense. It drives me insane. If you cannot suspend your disbelief, don't do it. At a certain point, the king of Helios, Lorenzo's father, decides, oh, I'm going to send Alara back into her home kingdom for this ball so that she can go in there and figure out what's going on. He sends her and Lorenzo, his son, the two main people, main weapons that would fight against this star, Ariette, literally into his castle that he's stolen and is now throwing a ball in. And the king of Helios tells Enzo and Alara, yeah, go figure some stuff out and then come back and tell me what's up. And they do exactly that. They make that voyage all the way to her kingdom, which is now Ariette's kingdom. And they go to this ball and then they just dance. And they forget that they're on a mission. Like, you forget that you're in the place where your parents were killed. Ugh. Okay, so I was wrong here. They didn't completely forget that they were at a ball. And Alara was upset and somewhat distraught at being in the home where her parents were killed. That needs to be said. But some of the possessive relationship things that went on in here were... and nearly blew their cover a lot. And I get it. It's for the sake of romance. It's for the sake of, tropes. We're dancing. It's cute. But then they go outside, start a fight with her ex-boyfriend or whoever, make a ruckus. People know where they are. She gets kidnapped. I didn't want this to be a rant, but there were so many things about this book that I still don't understand. So I do have to give Alara and Enzo some credit in this scene. Even though they were really stupid, they were also under the influence of a star's charm, which means that their emotional state was charged in this instance with anger and with just willingness to immediately go with their intuition. And so, because that means Enzo's intuition is to be possessive and territorial, which is like, do we like it? I don't know. On the first one, I was really pissed off with how easily they just threw caution to the wind. And on the second one, I saw it a little more. But still, come on. What's happening? It affected my reading experience. For plot overall, I'm giving the rating a 3.25. The only reason I'm giving it that high is because for the last 6 chapters of the book, they pull you in. I was flipping pages, not caring that the sentences were wonky, and I just wanted to know what was going on. And it was the plot, only the plot, that was driving me to keep going. Moving on. World building. For all the issues that we've faced in this book so far, I liked the world building. It wasn't too heavy on describing each thing and, what is this magic? How do these people look? We get pretty basic descriptions, but they're just enough. It's not too much. It's not too little in my mind. I'm not a big fan of books that spend pages and pages and pages describing the world to me. I thought the twist on the zodiacs was really witty. And I loved how it wasn't elaborate and it wasn't too in your face, but you knew that Alara and Enzo were the moon. Not the moon and the sun. Enzo, sun, Alara, moon. Okay. You knew that's who they were. I mean, they just embodied these traits and these characteristics from the jump. But then by the time you get to the end and it is revealed, oh, Alara, you're the moon, Enzo, you're the sun, you're like, oh my God, they're what? And so I thought the world building in that sense was really cool. I thought that the detail of having the light fractured in each kingdom to correlate with the star of that kingdom was really nice. And we've only really been to Helios, Asteria, and what's that other kingdom? We didn't go to Picea. Not me over here saying we as if I've been there. Anyway, well, I have. So overall, in world building, I give it a 4.6 rating. So I'm moving it down to a 4.0 because I don't think it should be that close to a 5.0, which I think is perfection. While it was fun to explore and while it was quirky and fun to think about, I have started reading the second book and I got to know more of the world building, and I don't think it's as put together as it seems in the first. So I'm knocking the points because I know where the world building is going, which is unfair if you've only read the first one. But I feel like this book has put me through so much that I am just going to say it's a 4.0 because I know where it's going and I don't care. All right, moving on to the last category, spice. Spice. Look, I'm going to get right into it and tell you I gave Spice a 4.8 out of 5 stars. Why? The why is critical. The reason that the spice in this book was so good is because we were edged. We were edged, honestly. We were just, you'd get a little crumb of spice and then it was taken from you. And then you'd get a little bit more spice and then it was taken from you again. And like you'd move on one action further to the final consummation of spice, but you'd never get there. Like literally there was a point where in that ball where she's in Ariette's kingdom, correction, it was not the first ball where they almost had schmecks. It was the second ball, which came later after Elara was captured and held and tortured for like a month and a half. And then once Elara and Enzo finally saw each other, they went into a room and almost fucked, which was still very stupid and reckless, but they were also under the influence of another star's charm, which makes people willing to be intimate with one another and willing to pursue their desires, if you know what I'm saying. But they were interrupted. They were interrupted literally right when Elara was like legs around Enzo, ready to, put the thing, and that was annoying. But also, like, why were they in the middle of the escape plan? We don't know what's going on. And how about we leave first so y'all can keep doing what you're doing versus doing it right now and having to get stopped in the middle of it. It didn't make sense, but I saw why they wanted to do it. But I was also like, excuse me, what's happening? But also, why are we stopping? Are we going to go? Because if you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to do it, do it. And they didn't do it. I had to wait. I don't know how many chapters it was that we had to wait for them to actually get together. Because I think, yes, after that, she has this whole like healing journey and then they have a falling out. Look, the reason I give the spice so high, maybe I should bring that down. No, I'm sticking to my guns. The reason I gave the spice so high is because, one, it was well written. You can tell that Imani Erriu wanted to write that spice because the playfulness and the cattiness and the sweetness, but also the like intensity of it, it was well balanced and it was well written. And it makes me wonder, was the book written to write good plot or was the book written to write good smut? If it was for plot, didn't succeed there in my mind. Could change. Maybe. If it was for smut, she did that. She did that. She dragged it out for how long is this book? 500 and some odd pages. And by the end, you're satisfied. It was impressive. I'm sticking to it. She gets a 4.8 for smut. I'm not sticking to it. I'm bringing it down to a 4.6 because the smut would have been so much better if it went with the plot and if I didn't not want it to happen in that moment. So I'm bringing it down just a smidge to 4.6. It's not like a big drop, but it's a drop enough. 4.6. I'm going to leave it there. Promise. All right, you may not want to, but we're moving on from smut. We're going into our first bonus category, which is icks and top picks. This is basically a rant where I'm going to tell you the things that gave me the ick and also the things that are my top picks that I liked in this book. First ick. Why did Enzo make Ilara's assault about him? I hated that. I hated that. I still hate that. I'll keep hating that. It was disgusting. I don't want to see it. I don't want it to happen. I hate it. I hate it. Second ick. Why did Ariette hear this prophecy that there is a person alive who he's going to fall in love with and they could kill him? Why did he hear that prophecy and then decide, oh yeah, I don't want you to love me, so I'm going to take everything you love so that you can only hate me. And I'm also going to kill your parents and your friends and take your kingdom, and I'm going to hunt you down and I'm going to torture you. Why didn't he just say, maybe I'm going to go somewhere where you're not? Maybe you can never meet me and we can never fall in love. I feel like the book was built off of this premise that Ariette, wanted to make her life hell. And that logic just doesn't seem sound to me. Ick, 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 ick. I don't like it. And the amount of times that whipping is mentioned in this book, it's freaking unnecessary. Enzo gets whipped in his dreams. Ilara gets whipped in prison. They make a joke about someone getting whipped. My last ick, which is not actually my last ick, but it's the last one we're going to discuss, is when Ilara knocks out Leo mid-fight. It just feels so stupid. Oh, actually, screw that. What we need to talk about is when Ilara, a week before the battle is supposed to take place, like at any point, Ariette could invade Helios, coming to look for her. Why did she decide,
oh, I'm going to ignore the one person who I'm supposed to work with because I forgot that we're not supposed to be like in love. We're not supposed to like each other.
Ick, 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 ick. My main ick, screw all the other ones. My main ick is that Ilara is selfish and continuously puts her own needs before anyone else's. Like, who in their right mind sees something going on, like a war, and thinks, oh, my personal problems are a bigger issue than this war. Like, the war will happen and I'm prepared. I'm not really prepared, but if it gets here, I'll do what I can. That was the vibe she gave me. I hated it. Ick, 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 ick. All right, now, switching gears to top picks. When Ilara jumped off that cliff and Enzo jumped after her, raise the bar. Raise it a little higher and then raise it a little higher. I gasped when I was reading that. I kicked my feet and I squealed. I'm ashamed to say it, but it's a top pick of mine. I'll read that chapter again and again. Another top pick, controversial. During the smut, if you've already read this book, you know what I'm talking about. When Enzo said, beg. I'm married. And the plot twist in the last 6 chapters, top pick. I don't know how she did it, but she won me back because I was ranting that I hated the book. And then I read those last 6 chapters. I was in a plane on the way home, 4 hours. I had the road to myself, kicking my feet, shaking my head, slapping my forehead. I looked insane. The people in the row next to me kept looking over, concerned, because the last 6 chapters were so just intense and action heavy that I was flabbergasted. Top pick. Great ending to the book. Are there plot holes? Yes. Am I still mad at it? Yeah. But in the moment when I was reading, was it a peak experience? Yes. I can't overlook that. There's a lot more irks and top picks that I can get into, But let's talk about the questions I'm left with that I hope get answered in the second book. How are we going to get Enzo's tether back? Is Enzo going to be asleep for the entirety of the next book? Because I really am not looking forward to that. Why did Isra not foresee the ending? She's a psychic, and Enzo is constantly bragging about her abilities, but she didn't see that Ariette was going to be here in the morning? But why did Isra not know that... I think she did know that Marissa was a star. I have to look back at that. But if Isra didn't know that Marissa was a demi-star, that's a big plot hole in my mind. So I said a lot of questions that I was left with, but in hindsight, I realized, one, they were all already answered very vaguely in the book, or two, they were stupid questions. But the only question that I had that was really worth asking was, will we be seeing more of the other places on the map? Because I want to see more. And I can already tell you right now, yes, we will be seeing more of the other places. And are they meeting or exceeding my expectations? I don't know. Anyway, my overall rating for Heavenly Bodies by Imani Erriu is a 3.79. With the new totals and calculations, the overall rating comes down to 3.45. But let's round it up to a 3.5. That seems fair. Still a good rating. I feel like anything under 2.5 is not good. Anything over 2.5 is good. If you know what you're here for, if you're here for smut, if you're here for vibes, if you're here for light romantasy, this is for you. If you're here for plot, if you're here for world building, if you're here for character development, I'm sorry, babies, don't pick it up. And if you already picked it up, we can cry together. I am currently reading the second book, so that review for, what is it called? Fallen Stars or A Fallen Star? I always forget. Should be out soon. Keep an eye out on that. Anyway, I love you. I've got to go. I'm going to let Past Me take it over here. Future Me's camera's dying. I will see y'all later. Take it away. If you've already read this book, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. What ratings do you give it? What were some of your icks? What were some of your top picks? And let me know if they align with mine. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It makes my heart happy and it's wonderful. And thanks for watching. I still have a lot of growing to do in my reviews. I realized in this one just how much it takes to really analyze a book and be able to express that in words to somebody else. So I've got a lot of work to do on my book reviews, but I appreciate you sticking it out anyway. I hope to see you again. Thanks so much for watching. I love y'all. Peace. Bye.